welcome to my channel. I am Azhar, and today I have two wonderful guests from Finland, Anna and Minna. Both of them are social workers. Anna is working with young adult migrants who leave Finland without any guardian, and Minna is working as a project planner, and her project is about finding new ways to reduce the number of foster placement of youth with immigrant backgrounds. So rest of the story we would like to know from them. So Anna, will you like to introduce you and your work?
Yeah, and thank you so much for inviting us. We met at the social work days a few weeks ago here in Helsinki, and I studied with Minna in Helsinki University. So I'm Nádasi, social worker, and currently working with the young adults who came to Finland alone as minors. And they are aged 18 to 25 when they're in our services, and our service is multi-professional. So we have social workers, social instructors and psychologists working in our team. And before this, I've mainly worked with young people in different settings, so a bit more like in a polyclinic for addiction and mental health for young people, school social work, child protection, aftercare, and that sort of things.
Great. Yes, and thank you, Anna, for joining us in this useful talk. Now we will move to Minna. Minna, will you like to introduce yourself and your work, please?
Of course, and thanks for inviting us here. My name is Minna Larvio. I live in Helsinki, and I'm a qualified social worker. At the moment, I'm working as a project planner in child welfare services at the city of Helsinki. The project where I'm planning, the target group is youth aged 10 to 17-year-old who have immigrant background and who have problems with alcohol, drugs, or mental health, but who are still living at their home with their parents. So our aim is to find or develop new ways to help these families and these young people so that there wouldn't be a need to so that they wouldn't live outside of their homes, so that there would not be need to do a foster placement for them. Before this job, I worked as a social worker at the police station at the nearby city here in Vantaa. And before that, I've been working with adults at the non-governmental organization, and also in city of Helsinki, I worked with adults before. And when I'm talking about adults in our field, I mean people, for example, unemployed people, or the people with criminal background. And I worked also in prisons. I've had like group work there and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was all about me.
Well, good. And it's very nice to have two social workers with me. This is my first time interviewing social worker for my channel. And it is very interesting that both of you are working with two different age groups. For example, Anna is working with young adult migrants who are coming to Finland without any guardian, and they are from 18 to 25 years of age. And Minna, you are working with 10 to 17 years of youth, but they are not unaccompanied migrants. They are with migrant backgrounds. So it means they're already living in Finland by the age they are 10 to 17 years. Yeah, good. So now we have two somehow different social work perspectives for both of these groups. So I would be interested in to know what kind of needs actually that both of you address. So I will start with Anna. Anna, what do you think that what kind of needs these young adult migrants who are unaccompanied, they have that comes under your social work project? Or in a way, if I would phrase it up, like why you as a social worker and how you as a social worker can help them in what ways?
Yeah, I think it starts with young adults being like they came to Finland alone without a guardian, so they are young and they need some adult, like, because they don't have their parents here in most of the cases. Some of them then later they apply for family reunification and might have some of their family members to Finland, but that's also a very difficult thing to have, very difficult process. But yeah, so thing is that some of these young people were very traumatized already in their home countries. There's war, there's kinds of crisis, oppression. They might even have been like child soldiers at some point, and then they have to leave their family, and then also the way to Finland might have been very dangerous, traumatic. There's cases of human trafficking. These young people are very vulnerable in many ways because they're still young. And then they come here and they have very different processes with their residence permits. Some of them have to wait for it for a long time. So they might be very hopeless and traumatized also in that process. And then they come to our service when they're turning 18, if they already have a residence permit, but sometimes even later. Some of them have waited for years and they come to our service when they're 24. So they've been for years in Finland in the residence system, a reception system. So yeah, so there's like very much the basis maybe like fragile, there's trauma, and at the same time they are young people who want to live their life and study and have hobbies and friends and find out who they are as persons. So yeah, we try to help them like kind of have a connection with them as an individual, but also take into account the community and the sense of belonging, because I think that's a very big issue with them, because here in Finland they might face racism and prejudice and everything, and they might not feel very welcomed or like they belong. So I think it's important also to try to help them with that. And the psychologist is, of course, in our team is a big help for that. But then social work comes in also with the financial housing issues and everything. So if you just think about it, there are young people who have to move out into their first home when they're 18, and some of them haven't had a long time to try to learn the skills they need, how to pay bills and everything. Most of them live in family community home and they get the skills, at least part of them there. But then we try to also help them with that. But there's like, of course, because they have trauma, so some of them try to deal with it with different ways, like substance use or gambling. And then unfortunately there is an issue of young people's homelessness in Finland, because the housing, especially here, yeah, I forgot to mention maybe that I work in Helsinki, but in the capital area the housing is very expensive. So many kinds of things, also health issues, and yeah, and unemployment and educational issues. I don't know if that was enough for now.
Yeah, yeah, and then before I go to Minna about her project, I have a couple of questions, whatever you said now. My first question is about that most of these young adults, they are coming from the war-torn societies or countries, or where there's a civil war or there are some invasions or whatever. So I can understand what trauma they might have with them. But then they are also vulnerable in Finland, as I understand, because of not because of what burden, psychological burden they are carrying with them from their countries, but you think that there might be some sort of fear of racism or prejudices they can face in here. So what might be the reason? Do you think that their ethnic background might be a reason of this prejudice behavior or the racism that they fear of? And if that is so, what is too much different in their ethnic background that they feel themselves vulnerable in Finnish society or in Finland?
Yeah, I think the reason is always in white supremacy. So yeah, and Finland unfortunately has very high ranking in racism, especially towards people from Africa. So, but all people from outside the Europe, especially. So it's a recorded and real thing. Yeah. And for instance, the young people face a lot of racism from authorities, and I hear the stories too often at my job. So it's a very real thing, and also in employment and many places. And I think it's also an issue how hard it is in Finland if you come as an immigrant, how hard it is to get to know Finnish people, because that would be the key to learn the language and to get integrated. So I think we need more spaces where people can meet each other, and the young people also wish for that. Of course, a lot of them have a very strong community with the people of their own ethnic background or nationality, but they also usually wish that they get to know different people and get to learn more Finnish.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that maybe even if they fear that they may face or they experience some discrimination from the authorities, maybe if the gap or space between the native Finnish people and the immigrants or the migrants, it may be reduced a bit, so they have more interaction with each other. It would help them to understand each other and even the Finnish language. But you also said that in your team, you also have psychologists who can help them. So what are the other people in your team who are specialized in different things that you think that they are contributing to this project?
Apart from psychologists, we have social instructors who are bachelors in social sciences. So they help a lot with the residence permit things, concretely in the lives of the young people, and with finances, how to apply for social benefits and things like that, and the everyday life. And then I am there kind of on a more official level, because we do, for every young person, we do assessment, what kind of services they need, and then a plan, like a customer plan. But also in our office, we have a specialized doctor and many kinds of professionals that we can consult.
Yeah, and this your job or your office, it is a public office or it is some private organization that's doing it?
Yeah, it's Helsinki City Municipal, like governmental office, and what we do is based on the act on the promotion of integration. So it's provided by tax money.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Now I will move to Minna. Yes, Minna. Okay, I mean, you have youth who are 10 to 17 years old. And now I am curious that what kind of needs you think they have. I can understand that you are working on reducing the number of foster placements, but then it means that you are also in contact with the parents and the youth both. So can you please tell us about what are the needs that the parents and the youth they have and that you are helping them with?
Well, I think, well, what Anna already mentioned, many of the things are similar with this project as well, because of course, when we are talking about people with immigrant backgrounds, they face the same kind of issues in the Finnish society, whether they are 20 or 15. But why we have this project is that in child welfare services, we have a lot of customers with immigrant backgrounds. Of course, we live in a multicultural Helsinki, at least Helsinki. I'm not sure if the society is multicultural, but here in the capital, we have a lot of cultures and languages and all that. But still, I feel that we don't know the customers with immigrant backgrounds well enough. We don't know their special needs. We are just giving everybody the same service, whether the background is, it doesn't matter if what they are, but we kind of like always give the same service. So I think that's one issue that we are trying to solve in this project. So the first question is that what are their needs? And now, like, we are still in the beginning, so we don't have like the customer work yet. The team will start after the summer. But now when we are kind of like seeking or trying to find the right target group, we already know that the youth, their parents, you already mentioned parents. I think the parents are in a key role when we are talking about young people. So the parents usually, when these youth, their parents haven't been integrated to Finnish society well enough, and it's not because of them, it's because of the society. So they have difficulties to understand the Finnish language and the Finnish system itself. And really often they are unemployed, and they have problems to cope with the money that they have, so that because the benefits that they get are quite low, and in Finland it's not cheap, so it's really hard to cope with that money that they get from the government. So the parents, they have a lot of things that they need to solve by themselves all the time, and they don't get enough help to do that. So then when the kids, when they face their own problems, the parents don't have energy to help the kids, because they are so, occupied with their own things and own worries. So in this project, I think that we need to focus on the parents and their needs. How can we help them so that they would get more energy or more power to help their kids in the problems that the kids face? And so that's one point. And then also like about the kids, because these kids who come to this project, they might be using, like, for example, alcohol or drugs. And if we talk about the services that we offer to young people who have problems with substances, they are not usually really, how would I say that? They don't understand like these cultural differences or different backgrounds. So they don't really have any system how to deal with this youth. So I think that also one goal is to teach also the people who are working in that field to meet those youth with immigrant backgrounds and their parents in a better way.
Yeah, so you mean that your project is still in the beginning?
Yes, it just started. So it will be a 3-year project, and now we are just in a planning phase. So me as a project planner, I'm doing this work now this spring, and then after the summer there will be a team, hopefully, who will work with the customers when we know what to do. Now we don't know yet.
And who would be the people that you will recruit in that team? I mean, what kind of special skills or special things they are capable to do?
Yeah, so there will be like Bachelor of Social Services, a couple of them, so that their job is to focus on the family relationships and like the relationship between the youth, the kids and the parents. And then there will be workers who work with the parents and with their issues that I described before. And then there will be nurses from what is nuorisoasema. Anna maybe knows because she's been working there before, but kind of like the place where
youth station, yeah.
Youth station, yeah, where they work with youth who have problems with alcohol or drugs. So there will be 2 nurses from there as well. So it will be like this multi-professional team. So we try to tackle this really problematic situation that the youth and the families are facing by using all these professionals so that they could work together with the problem and having like a same plan together.
Okay, so this project is also from the government. I mean, it is the government initiative or it is some private initiative?
Yes, it's run by the city of Helsinki, and we get the money from the European Union. So it's kind of like this European Union funded projects.
Okay, yeah. So in a way, both of you, the projects you are doing, they are owned, or at least I could say that the municipality of Helsinki, they are the main stakeholders in this.
Yeah, we have the same employer, basically.
Yeah, good. Okay. Now, Anna, I was just thinking that there are a lot of things that you and your team have to do when you are dealing with young adult migrants. And in fact, your work is not a kind of project that has a time limit of 3 years, is it?
No, it's from the law, and it's like a social service that has been going on for some years. Actually, our team was started working in 2017. So since then, but now it's in the law that we will provide this kind of service in Finland and also in other municipalities. Of course, in smaller municipalities, there might not be this big team because we are 17 people working. So it's quite a big team.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's based on the need of the young adults. So until they are 25 or they get the Finnish citizenship, or in some cases, if they just don't feel like they need this sort of support anymore, this is voluntary. So then we might end the customership.
Okay, now from a social side, how do you connect these group of young adult migrants to the Finnish group of young adults? Or there is something that you are doing in this regard?
Yeah, I think there could be more done, like from a communal point of view, because the social work in Finland is still very individualistic, I feel. I think many of them connect through school. Most of them go to like basic education in Finland. They don't go to the same Finnish language courses as the adults, but even in the basic Finnish education, they are there with other immigrants. And then after that, they go to some vocational training or high school or something. There they are more with other like Finnish-speaking young people. Yeah, and then for instance, we support them if they have some hobby. So that's one thing. I can grant them a complementary social benefit so that they can have a hobby like sports or culture or anything they wish. That's one thing, but I think still we have a lot to do with that. One thing we try to do is, because there's a lot of organizations and NGOs that are for all young people. So we try to also tell about this. Like for instance, in Helsinki we have, and in other cities as well, I know there's a place called a girls' house, and then there's a place called boys' house that have a lot of like free hobbies, and you can just go and talk with people. So we tell about these opportunities. But I feel that we have so much to do with the problems, with the financial and housing problems, that we don't have enough time to think about this sort of thing at our job.
Yeah, so it means that the housing problem and the financial problems, they are prioritized at the moment. Yeah. And I think also this to help them to join sports and other things, it is good thing, because I also met one of the Syrian migrants here who actually find his way to create a network of friends through a sport organization. He joined them because he learned, he already knew how to play football, so he joined them, and there he found new friends, and he was able to learn actually Swedish language while working, playing with those people. So it is a good way to connect. So at the moment you are prioritizing their housing and financial situations.
Yeah, or well, I would think that every person needs the basis, like the basic security in their life, so that they can go out and meet people. And also like all the things with the immigration services, like if they have to apply for a residence permit, and or if they apply for family reunification, that sort of things take a lot of time also in our service. But yeah, one thing I want to add is that we can find the young adults support family, or it's called like well, I don't know how to translate that into English, but they are like volunteer families that meet with the young adults, and then they can talk Finnish. And many of them find these families very important for them. Of course, it's not the same as their own family, but it's a way of getting into the society also.
Yeah. Okay, and then I just got another question for Minna actually. In case of Anna, I think they are young adults, 18 to 25 years of age. So they are unaccompanied, they don't have any guardian. So they are directly in contact with Anna. But Minna, in your case, you have 10 to 17 years of young people or youth. How are you planning to connect with them? Do you connect with them through the parents? I mean, how will you give voice to those young people when they are living with their parents? How do you plan to reach them, and how do you plan to let them speak out without any pressure from their parents?
Well, that was a good question. But with this project, the target group, they are already in our services before attending this project. So they have their own social worker in child protection, and the family, they already have issues that social workers have kind of like found that they need this service so that their situation will get better. So we don't need to do kind of like this searching, you know, we don't need to go to the field and ask people that, would you like to join this project? I'm sure that is more difficult, and we have that kind of projects also in Helsinki, but they are run by the NGOs and they are kind of like voluntary based. But this is more, you know, this is an official thing, like child protection gives you this service. So it's never kind of like you can question, is that a voluntary thing to participate? If a social worker from child protection tells you that this is something that you should do with your family. But of course, then when the family joins the project, then of course it's super important to motivate the young people and also the parents that they are willing to join. And because if you don't have the motivation, then of course there will be no change in the situation. So that we hope that we can offer them something that they feel themselves that is helping them.
And especially when your target is to reduce the foster placement, then maybe they would be motivated for this thing, that the children and the parents will live together. I mean, this is more like living in the family. So
yes, definitely. Yeah. And of course, we want to do that with all the families, so that the goal in child protection is always that we help the families in a way that we don't need to take the children out of their homes. So that's always our goal.
Yeah, and that is interesting because I have seen that sometimes there is a panic among parents when their children are sent to the foster families. And sometimes also for the children, the situation is, I mean, child protection agencies, they are doing something according to them as the best interest of the child. But sometimes the child has so much attachment with his or her biological parents that in the foster families, sometimes they do not feel comfortable. So I think then this project makes sense, that why your project wants to reduce the number of foster families. So is it something like that?
Yes, it's something like that. And when we are talking about families with immigrant backgrounds, I also think there's a lot of stigma around child protection and around all the social work what we are doing. So also one part of the project is to try to reduce the stigma around our services, because too often the case is that the problem when the child comes, for example, to meet a social worker for the first time, the situation is already so bad, so we don't have any other option to, you know, kind of like take a break and take a kid for a while out from his or her home. But we need to find the ways so that the people would themselves kind of like have the courage to seek help when they need it at the earlier stages. But I don't say that it's their problem. I think it's our problem as social workers and as society, so that we need to, like, you know, help people to seek help.
Good. Okay, Anna, now the critical part of the discussion, that is about the challenges. I mean, these are the challenges not from the client side or the customer side, but from the social worker side. So you are doing a great thing and you are doing a hard thing at the same time. So what are the challenges, Anna, that you face when you are trying to do your work?
Yeah, so I think always the structural societal challenges that we've discussed already. And I think we have to start from there. But then one big issue is that we don't have enough professionals in our field. And the professionals change a lot. They get burnout, or they don't have good working conditions, and then they leave. So that makes working very hard, especially I think with young people, or well, any people who are vulnerable or who have had bad experience with officials or something like that, how to build a trust. And that's been a big issue like throughout my social work career. And actually I started in child protection, and that's why I was nodding so much when Minna was talking, that it's a very big issue at the time, and it's been for a long time in Finland, especially to child protection. We have a hard time to get social workers, and maybe later we can still discuss the qualifications we have in Finland, because that has to do with it. But yeah, so it's very hard to work with these vulnerable young adults who understandably have trust issues, who have a hard time also because of stigma that Minna mentioned. Why would they trust us? Why would they tell us? Why would they tell me something? And then it's hard to help if I don't know. So I would need time and like possibility to meet with them and discuss and get to know them, so that I could help properly, I feel. And of course, I mentioned like the housing issues in, especially I think the capital area. It's hard to find affordable housing, and the benefits are not that, they are not enough. They're like enough to cover so that you can get by, but you can't really like build a life with them. And we work a lot with Kela. So I checked what that's in English. It's social insurance institution in Finland. Kela grants the basic social benefits for our customers, and then we can help on top of that. But yeah, they are young people, so all of this is new to them. What else? Well, leadership, I think, in social and health services is a very big thing, and organizational issues, how we manage the services, what kind of service we provide. And that's why I'm happy for the project that Minna is working with, because I think we should also think that, okay, what are the special needs of this group of people? And then when it comes to my customers, the whole legislation, immigration legislation and everything, and racism and like societal things, how the media talks about my customers and things like that. Everything has to do with everything. But yeah, but on like everyday work, I think if my colleagues change a lot, or if people are burnt out, that's a very bad situation to start with.
Yeah, that's when your team is disturbed. I mean, people are coming and people are going out of the team. Then I think it disturbs several things. Well, but then when you have these type of challenges, what are the support system for you? I mean, for you, not for the migrants, for your working, from where you get support, internal or external, that you can then use to meet those challenges?
In Finland, most of the social work professionals have like a professional coaching, if that's the right word in English. We were thinking with Minna, that's probably the right word. Means that we have maybe once a month or less than once a month for our team. For instance, in my team, it's like separately for the social workers and for the social instructors and psychologists. And there we can like just talk about everything, get support from a person who is usually a social field professional and trained to be a professional coach. And then of course we have meetings at work, like separate meetings for separate professionals, and like team meetings. But the issue is that sometimes my calendar is filled with meetings. So we have to think that which of them are important, and sometimes they're very like just bureaucracy. So then with our team, we have also meetings with the professionals that work with the same customers, and that I think is very important. There we get to really like talk about what could help and our feelings. And I think it's very important that the team is like that we feel free to express our emotions, because it's like our work is all about emotions in the end, and that there's a freedom. You can feel free to speak, and you can somehow share your values, and you have a like common goal where you're going with your work. Yeah, and there also like support from the leading social worker or senior social worker, know which word is the right word, is very important. And from the organization, from the top of the organization, that you feel that you're doing the right things and feel supported. Yeah, that's.
And how much freedom do you have to connect to the other organizations, which are maybe not the government organizations or not the public organizations, or maybe the civil society? How much freedom do you have to connect to those people for your help?
I think a lot of freedom, and it's even like encouraged. But the thing is, again, the time limitation. But for instance, in Helsinki, we have one special program that's working with the same customers as we are. So with them, I think we connect a lot. Yeah. But I think it's very important that in work you can find meaning. Of course, I find the most meaning from my customers and meeting with them, but also that you can share it and somehow strengthen it, because in the end it's sometimes mentally quite burdening, and especially when you see that the society doesn't support what you think should be done or what would be the best for these young people, then it's sometimes very exhausting.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you. Now, Minna, you have, well, I can also see the connections, what you are doing and what Anna is doing, but I can also see that I perceive there is a different sort of challenges that you may face in your project. It is still in the beginning, so I think you're also not in a good position to tell about the challenges that you will practically face. But what do you assume that might be challenging for you while doing this job?
Well, I agree, by the way, with Anna, with everything that she said, because I also think when people are asking me that, oh, you are a social worker, that is probably super hard, like all these terrible things that the people face. But I'm always answering that, yes, it's hard, but it's because of the structures. It's not because of the things that our customers face. It's more that the structures are not supporting them or us as a social worker. But about the project, what was the question? Oh yeah, what are the challenging tasks in your job? I think that like it comes to the kind of like the structures where the project is working, so that the structure is the child protection, so that kind of like gives some limitations how to work in that project. Because before I worked in an NGO, and I definitely, when you were asking about if we have freedom to connect or contact, for example, NGOs or other professionals who are working with our customers, I feel that we have the freedom, even though we are working for the municipality, but I feel that we don't have enough time or understanding to do that, so that it would help the customers as well as it could. If we had the time and understanding, because when I was, we were really there where the community was, and we really knew who are the people we should contact with, and the customers also, like the people who lived there, they knew us, and they weren't afraid of us. So of course the information that we got was more valuable than the information that the officials get sometimes, because people, they don't want to tell the truth, so because they are afraid of us, because we kind of like represent the official Finland in a way. So I think that's one of the challenge that the project might face, that the families, they don't trust the project, so that they would be helped, or they could believe that they will be helped through the project.
And I found that it is interesting to see that both of you are at least connecting, find connections. For example, in one way, the problems or the situation of youth and young adults, you find some connections. For example, marginalization or other things, or the minority problems or whatever. And then the second thing is about the challenges. You both of you agree in a way that there is some structural problems that may cause a challenge while you are working as a social worker. So when both of you are working with a project that has similar sort of client problems and similar sort of challenges on the social work side, what do you think, how both of you can connect to each other?
Yeah, I think when we were kind of planning this, it was very easy, because we were like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing, and we had some discussion about what could be done also with my customer group, like how the city of Helsinki could maybe help them even more, and for instance, from the perspective of how we could reach out to different organizations, like religious organizations, not organizations, but like, what is the word? Well, groups that meet these young people in their everyday life. So yeah, I think we found very much like common ground.
Yeah, because I was just thinking that metaphorically, I mean, if there are two craftsmen and they are working on different projects, so one of the craftsmen created or invented a tool that he or she found very useful, and then he can share that tool with the other craftsman. Okay, this is working in this situation very fine. This is all about sharing your strategies, your resources, your information, and you are also working for the same municipality. So I see that maybe now you have started thinking about itself that, okay, how we can connect to each other, especially Minna, because she is in the beginning. She may get a great deal of knowledge from you, and also you can get a great deal of knowledge from her project. What do you think, Minna?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And now, because I have the chance actually to use time to contact people who are working in the same field or with the same kind of target group. So of course, I've been doing that a lot. But I feel that usually when you are there, in the field doing social work, you kind of like understand that you should do this kind of networking more and trying to find these new contacts, but then you never have time for that because we need to prioritize the customer work and the needs that they have. So then, even though we know that networking and sharing information and sharing good practices would help the customers in the end, but we never have time to kind of like plan that thing. So of course, but now I'm in a good position because I can do that, and I've been doing that. But of course, I've realized that Helsinki, like the organization in the Helsinki Health and Social Services, it's quite big, and people, they have no idea what is happening in the other sector, even though we are working in the same city. So it's really frustrating sometimes. I thought that, okay, I invented something new, this is nice, and then next week I hear that it's already done somewhere, but nobody told me that. So it's frustrating to work in a big organization where there's not really good coordinating around these things. They don't coordinate it well enough. I don't have any answers how it should be done better, but maybe like some companies, they might have like better ways to deal with this kind of things than the municipal organization.
Yeah, and that's what actually I was. I mean, nowadays, whatever I am working on, I am also putting it into my frame of reference in the context of young adult migrants, that how the other people, social workers in any position, because I think in Sweden, the definition of social worker is somehow a little bit of different than the Finnish context, maybe. But well, we will not go into the definition now, but I was just thinking how can be the connection created, or how can be the connection made available to the people working in that field. And a while ago, when we were offline, I was talking to Anna about this thing, that how I am trying to do this thing, that how to connect people together. So this talk is one of that thing. I mean, I talk to you, and I am also working on social resilience and migration, and both of you are working on different aspects of youth and young adult people with a migrant background. So this is how we make connections. So now we will come to the common strategies, but these strategies are actually not the strategies, but the suggestions. What are your suggestions for the people who want to work with the migrants? I know that they would learn a lot from the challenges you have talked about, and the support system and the need-based analysis that you've done so far. But what do you think, for example, if I am a new person who want to jump in to work with the migrants, and especially the youth and young adult migrants? So we will begin from Minna. Minna, what do you suggest to the new people who want to do this work? You want to make them afraid of doing this thing, or you want to encourage them?
Definitely, I don't want to make them feel afraid of this. Like, social work is great. And also with people with immigrant backgrounds, it's even more interesting because you get to know a lot of new stuff about being a human, and new stuff about different cultures and different ways of seeing life. But I think the beginning, you need to reflect on your own position in the society, what kind of power you are having, and what kind of power you use when you are doing social work with this group, and also your own attitudes, like what is your kind of like background and where are you coming from. I think it's super important to have these kind of reflections before you go to do the customer work. And it's also always in social work. It's not only with this group, it's with everybody. You need to, because you are dealing with really hardcore stuff like violence and substance abuse and all these things that all of us might have some experiences from our own life or our neighbor's life or whoever. So we need to deal with our own stuff before we start dealing with others. That's my advice.
And you talked about the power. So do you mean the individual power that one person have, or the power given to him or her by the authorities?
I mean both, because I think in Finland, I'm a white woman. I have a lot of power because our prime minister is a white woman also. So in Finland, it's easier. You have more power if you have like this white Finnish background kind of way. So you need to deal with that first. You need to understand what is your position in the society. I mean that, but also like the power that we get when we, start doing social work. We have a lot of power to influence on people's lives, and sometimes we do stuff that the people themselves.
Okay, but then do you mean that the majority power, I mean, when you say a white person in Finland or a white person in Sweden, it means the majority power that can help you to help the minority?
Yes, I mean, I think I mean that. If I understand the question right, I think I
Yeah.
mean that.
So
Like
does it also mean, okay, I am getting too political now. Does it also mean that a person like me, who is not a white person, he cannot be a good social worker in that case?
No, definitely not. I didn't mean that. I mean more that when you start your career, you need to be you need to know who, like, kind of like your background or the position that you have in a society, that you are not using that in a wrong way when doing social work. Anna, you can help me. Do you understand what I'm talking? Because he doesn't.
Yeah,
So you need to
yeah.
help me with this.
Yeah, I understand so much. Yeah, I think it has to do with the white supremacy, and we were thinking about this with Minna before, that it's a bit funny that two white female, quite middle class social workers come here to talk about how to help immigrants in Finland. So I think that's the case, and I think the whole field should be so much more inclusive, and there should be more people from different backgrounds in these positions of power. So I think the first question, especially for a white person starting to think about they want to study social work, is that why do you want to do that? Like, if you want to work with non-white customers, why do you want to do that? And to avoid white saviorism, which I think is very much in our field, in Finland also, and like how we kind of, I don't say we, like Minna and me think, but we have this biased, it's in us that we kind of learn to think that, okay, we know how to do things in Finland, what is the right way of doing things. And I think it's the first thing to do. Like, why do you want to do, how are you going to help those people? How are you going to make sure that they are feeling heard and they can talk to you about their experience of, for instance, of racism? Because it happens so much that someone tells about racism, and then the usually white social worker says that, yeah, it doesn't exist, like that's not real what you're talking about. So how can we help those people from our perspective? And yeah, the power also has to do with the qualifications and what the social worker does in Finland, because social worker can take the child into foster care, or can, like me, I can grant great amounts of money for someone, so that I have done the work with myself as much as possible. It's an ongoing thing. It's like we are never ready. And I feel it was so important that the social work days was so much about this theme and Finland's own colonialism and colonial history and colonial it's happening still in Finland. So yeah, I think the white saviorism is a big thing that we have to.
And
Can I add one thing?
yes, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think like if somebody wants to be a social worker, she or he should also think that what is a good life for me? When I'm thinking about a good life, what that means, because then when you do social work, it's really often you have conversations about what you want to have in your life, or what are your dreams, and sometimes everybody has their own like the dreams that are put from outside of us, kind of like the society gives us certain way to think. So I think it's super important to have this kind of discussions in your head, that where are those things coming, are they other things that everybody should have same kind of dreams, or is it just that our society thinks that we need to have same kind of life, everyone? And I think that is really important with immigrants, because they might have a really different dreams, because they come a really different societies, and the societies are really they are differently shaped and structured and everything. Yes, that was what I wanted to add.
Yeah, I actually yes, that is good that Anna was able to explain something that I was not going to understand in the beginning. But yes, what I see, there are two things that I just want to reflect here. What I see that in Finland, and I think also in Sweden, the social workers, mostly they are white. Is it true? Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
now there are two sides of this thing. If mostly they're the people who are doing social work, they are white. So the first thing is the positive thing. Okay, they are white. They hold some sort of power, a social and cultural power with them that they can practice to help people who might be marginalized, who might face racism. So they can, because they are social workers, they are supposed to help them. So they can help them by practicing their majority power with them. And on the other side, being a white person, and especially from the European context, when you are dealing with the non-European people, maybe there are some sort of things that you could not understand from their perspectives. So if then you need a non-white social worker as well. But now it is interesting that why the non-white people are not joining the social work field, or why they are less. Is it because of the language issue, because all the social work education is in Finnish language or in Swedish language, or there are other things that you think they are facing, that's why they are not joining the social work? And in fact, they are those people that I think I would love to find people from the migrants who become social worker, because then they would be of great help to bridge between the white social worker and the migrants while being in between them. So what is stopping them to join this profession with you? Anna, first you.
Okay, I think we also discussed this with Minna, and also in social work days, one of the workshops, we had a lot of discussion about this. And yeah, I know some, so I can then connect you with them if needed. But I think, yeah, in Finland we have like social work, which is masters in social sciences, and then the bachelor in social services is like social instructor or something like that. I think there we can see more and more non-white people coming in, and also like from vocational training to social services, there's more and more people coming in. But yeah, I think there are many barriers. One thing for sure is language. That's like for sure, because it's seen that our job requires so much of writing, reading, speaking Finnish. But I think even there could be many things done so that it would be more like easier to get into these positions. And then in that workshop, for instance, we discussed like really like racism in like applying the jobs, that some people had this experience that they thought that if someone had an immigrant background, they wouldn't be as good. Although of course that's not true, that like we know. But in Helsinki, actually, we have anonymous, what is it? Minna can help. When we apply for a job in social services, at least some of them, we apply anonymously, so they don't see our citizenship, age, gender, stuff like that. So I think that could help. Yeah, but then I feel, I don't know, because I don't have that experience, but I feel it can be very frightening to get into this field and get into the academic field, world as a non-white person. And yeah, for instance, we had one person who started studying at the same time and is non-white, and had so many experiences of, you know, every time you go to some meeting, they think that you are, of course, the customer because you are not white, because the social worker is supposed to be white. So then I would guess that that frightens the person, that how can I get into that position, and that also that's like ongoing racism and microaggressions you face. Or in the academic field, everyone thinks that you're always just like some student or something, so you're not taken as seriously as maybe, which of course I wouldn't think it's like that, but that's what I've heard and read.
Minna, what do you say?
Well, I think Anna said already many things. I think it's about to get to the education, because it's the quite high education, like Master of Social Sciences, and even, you know, having, for example, people with immigrant backgrounds in our university. It's quite rare. That it's not only about the social work; it's all the academic field. I think that they need to work with that issue. That how would they be more open to everyone? But then it's also Anna mentioned the language issue. I think it's really important. And actually in this project where I'm working now, we are trying to recruit people who speak the same language with the customers. And that's also one big question, you know, where we get those professionals. And so that's why we won't have a social worker, because there's not many of them. There's probably some, but not many, who have, for example, like who knows Somali language or whatever the other languages. But there's a lot of, there is some, I don't say many, but there are more and more social care workers, so social instructions, as Anna said, who has been in our University of Applied Sciences, and the degrees are held also in English, so it helps the people also to study the profession, because they can study in English if they have the knowledge of that language. And I also know some people who has like a social worker background from some other country, and then when they come to Finland, they are not seen as qualified social workers, and it's super hard to get the qualification, because you need to like pass all these exams in Finnish and all that, even though it could be quite a good thing that they can, you know, do the work in some other language, for example, with the customers who come from the same background with the social worker. But so those people are kind of like the they are social workers, but they can't work here as a social worker, so they work as a, what could be like a child, like a, what could
Youth
be
workers
like,
or
youth worker or something like that.
in what is it? Daycare or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so they do some like with a lower degree.
We end up this beautiful talk here, and I am sure that it will help several people who would watch this video, especially those who want to work with migrants or who are already working with migrants. And I am also optimistic about it that with this video, I will also continue to seek and find and connect more people using my YouTube channel who are working with migrants. So I am very much grateful to you. We will end up this talk here, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, and there's so much to say still, so we hope to continue these discussions.
Yeah, thank you very much.